Hello friends, this is Hedda. At this point, I've done numerous dot grid notebook reviews on my channel, but I never thought any notebook would be able to have paper like these ones. These notebooks were kindly sent over for me to try by Journalier Stationery, who are also sponsoring this video. The opinions expressed in this video are entirely my own, and I always do my best to give you a fair and honest review. In this video, I'll go through the basics of the notebook, do a pen test with different markers and paints, talk about environmental responsibility as well as who this notebook might suit the best, and at the end, I'll be giving away a notebook to one of you guys, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. They currently have two cover designs available called Courage and Aspiration. Aspiration is a cool blue and white, while Courage has some orange to it as well. The cover is made from faux leather and is soft to the touch. Each notebook has a little inspirational story to them, which you can read about on journalierstationery.com. I was curious about these notebooks because aesthetically they differ a bit from the norm. A lot of popular dot grid notebooks these days are solid colored with an icon on the front and white 160 GSM paper. I like using 160 GSM paper notebooks, but recently I've been wondering if maybe it's time to try something lighter and thinner because I have really enjoyed lighter paper in the past. The Journalier Stationery notebooks have 120 GSM paper and the color is an almost white ivory color. Compared to other notebooks I own, you can see that the color is not as yellow as the Dingbats and Moleskin, but also not as bright white as Archer and Olive and Notebook Therapy, for example. The notebooks have 188 numbered dot grid pages. The dots are quite dark and visible, and the numbers in the bottom corner are the largest I've seen in a dotted notebook that I own. Personally, I prefer unnumbered notebooks, but I know a lot of people rely on keeping an index or just prefer to have numbered pages for some other reason. The notebooks have two page markers in different colors, which I really like because they're easier to differentiate, and they lay flat so that you can comfortably use your notebook without having to hold the edges down or push the spine down into the table. The price of the notebooks is $29 US, with around $5 domestic shipping within the US, and if you buy two or more, you get free shipping within the US. Shipping to Europe from the US is at around $30 for two notebooks and around $20 for one notebook, and they also have an option of duties paid shipping so that you pay upfront for any customs and duty so that there are no surprises when the package arrives. Now, this is by no means cheap, but shipping prices are what they are and companies don't really have any say over that price. Journalier Stationery has kindly offered all of you a 10% discount by using my code mochibujo10. This is not an affiliate code, so I'm not making any extra money off of it, but you can get your notebook a little bit cheaper. Let's do a pen test. On their website, Journalier Stationery claims that there is no ghosting or bleeding in their notebooks and that the paper is ink proof. So I put it to the test. Obviously, I'm recording this voiceover after filming this, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that I was shocked when I did this pen test. Starting with my Platinum Preppy fountain pen, I noticed that the ink didn't seep into the paper straight away, which can cause smudging. For lefties, this might be a bit of a problem, but there was no feathering, so as long as you don't smudge the ink with your hand, it looks quite nice. I then tested my highlighters, zebra mildliners, and iconic two-way pens. I find that sometimes colors will show up differently on white and cream colored paper, but I think that the colors showed up beautifully here and there was no bleeding and no ghosting. I also tested some brush pens. I did a couple of black brush pens, the Unipin brush and the Copic Gasenfude, and then I also tested a Tombow dual brush pen, Crayola Super Tips, and Sakura Koi coloring brush pen. None of these ghosted or bled, so I consider that a success, but I will say that the drying time of the ink is definitely longer than I am used to on uncoated paper in other notebooks, so you kind of have to be a little bit more patient. The next category of pens I wanted to test was paint markers. If you watched my other notebook review videos, you'll know I usually test with Posca paint markers and Archer and Olive acrylograph pens. But I recently sold all my Posca paint markers to a lovely girl here in Norway because I didn't really use them. And since I have a lot of acrylograph pens, I decided to only keep those. So I only have the Archer and Olive pens to test with today, but they're pretty similar, so I don't think that that's going to be a problem. There was a tiny bit of warping of the paper, but not really that noticeable. Oh, and I go over twice with all of these markers, by the way, just so that I can see if the paper can handle 2 layers. Next, I tested a variety of fine liners, ballpoint pens, and gel pens, since these are very common to use in notebooks regardless of whether you like to decorate your journal or not. I had no issues with any of these, but gel pens can smudge a little bit like the fountain pens, since the ink is more wet, I guess, than ballpoint pens and fine liners. But overall, as a right-handed person, I had no issues, and I think they all wrote very smoothly on the paper. And then we come to the part of the pen test where I normally yell at you for even considering using permanent markers in your journal. But this time I can't do that because, well, let me just play you the actual audio of this clip. What? Why isn't it bleeding through? I'm gonna try a darker color. What? Yeah, so turns out this notebook actually can handle alcohol-based markers. So of course I had to email Journalier Stationery and ask what kind of magic this is. And they said that they add a type of resin to their paper so that it is able to hold alcohol-based markers without ghosting. So even if the paper is uncoated, it's kind of coated from the inside. So for the first time ever in my notebook reviews, I encourage you to get your permanent markers out and enjoy this notebook to the fullest. Lastly, I wanted to test how the paper handles watercolors. So I got my Winston & Newton Cotman watercolors and Vivia color sheets out and just played around a bit with different amounts of water and paint. The paper definitely warped a bit, but that was kind of expected from thinner paper like this. Warping isn't that big of a deal as long as there's no bleeding or ghosting, in my opinion, and there wasn't really any of that. Definitely no bleeding, but hey, why would you even want to use watercolors in this notebook when you can use alcohol-based markers? So that brings me to the next part of this video, which is environmental responsibility. Because with this kind of paper, which has resin mixed in with a pulp, wouldn't that make it less environmentally friendly? Well, the notebooks are FSC certified with the label FSC recycled. There are 3 FSC labels, and this particular label means that the product is made from 100% recycled materials, which helps lighten the demand for virgin materials. Journalier Stationery also claims that the packaging in notebooks are recyclable, so that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So obviously there is no perfect notebook that will fit everybody's needs, but this notebook can definitely handle a lot more media than I'm used to from other notebooks, just based on the fact that you can use permanent markers with no issues. The fact that it's made from recycled materials is also a huge plus. But I will say this, you do have to be patient with this notebook because I smudged my line art when erasing the pencil lines and nobody wants that to happen. I am really amazed at how well the notebook handles alcohol-based markers. I thought maybe the pen test was a fluke and that it wouldn't hold up to lots of blending and layers, but after drawing this, blending a lot and layering a lot, it still didn't bleed. So if you've been looking for a notebook that you can use those Copic markers, Pro markers, or other permanent markers in, this might be the one. And to make things even better, I am giving away the Aspiration notebook to one of you guys. All you have to do to enter is to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and comment which of the notebooks speak to you the most. Go to journalierstationery.com to read about the 2 notebooks and the inspirational stories behind each of them. You will find links to both notebooks in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end, please add a fruit emoji to your comment. And thank you so much to Journalier Stationery for sponsoring this video and sending over these notebooks. As you could probably tell, I really enjoyed testing these notebooks, and I am super excited to finally own a dotted notebook in which I can use my 70+ Copic markers. I hope that you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!